Do something cool. How was that, bro? What I have here is the Insta360 X3 pocket camera. This is a nifty little addition to your arsenal of cameras for any content creator. The X3 is a versatile little pocket camera jam-packed with features that'll help you capture life's most vivid moments in 360 degrees. In this video, I'll share exactly what that means and share my first impressions with the X3 after a week-long trip in the Canadian Rockies snowboarding. This camera is by no means fresh off the press. It's been out on the market for almost a year now, and it is definitely still one of the newer, most powerful 360 degree cameras that you can buy, especially in the small form factor. And today I'll be talking about how my experience with this camera has been. Thank you all for tuning in to yet another Nabil Qasim special. On this channel, you'll find the best tips on cameras, photography, and filmmaking. And as you're watching this video, if you find the information to be particularly helpful and you're enjoying this video, please, 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 please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for more photography goodness. Now, let's get on to the good stuff. Let's start with the technical specifications. This camera has two cameras back to back, 48 megapixel half-inch sensors, and the lenses to these sensors have a 6.7 millimeter equivalent focal length. So essentially you have two ultra-wide angle cameras pointed in opposite directions. And these cameras are essentially going to give you a full 360 degree field of view when you stitch the two images together through the software that's built into the camera. So what does that give you? In 360 degrees, this camera can record a 5.7K resolution image in 360 degree video format at a frame rate of up to 30 frames per second and up to a maximum frame rate of 100 frames per second recording in a lower 3K resolution. If you use just the single lens mode, which only means that you have 150 degree field of view instead of the full 360 degrees, you can record in 4K at 30 frames per second and up to a maximum of 60 frames per second shooting at a lower 3.6K resolution. And with the time lapses, you can get up to an 8K resolution in 360 degrees. What's also great about this camera compared to its predecessors is it's got this awesome new giant LCD screen that allows you to review your footage and configure the settings directly on the camera with ease without having to use your phone to do that. The camera is also waterproof up to 33 feet if you wanted to use it as an underwater camera. One thing to note is that you'll probably want to get it an aqua case for this that goes and covers the lenses, even though it's waterproof, because that will help with the stitching software that's built into the camera to help create the 360-degree image, because when it's underwater, you have light refraction, and the camera is not really set up to consider that when it's stitching the two images together. Okay, so now let's get into the features of this camera. A lot of it has to do with what you can do with such a wide field of view with this camera. Essentially, it's a personal cameraman when you're doing any sort of action sport or anything fast-paced. You can use this camera to get an awesome third-person view of yourself if you're snowboarding, skiing, or doing anything that's extremely fast-paced, like running, hiking, or even riding a motorcycle, which is something that I don't really ever do myself, but I've seen a lot of people using this camera for that. Let me tell you a little bit about my first impressions and what I came to find out about this camera, because it's definitely something that I'm new to and had to get used to. So I'll break it down into 3 parts. The first part being how to mount it. Second part is the different modes that you can use on this camera. And then the third part is the actual software for editing the 360-degree footage that you get off of it. So for mounting this camera, there's usually 2 general ways that are widely accepted, which is just putting it on a selfie stick. So I got this super long 3-meter selfie stick, which is really cool because you can get drone-like angles with it. While I was snowboarding, it was a little bit cumbersome to try and snowboard with. Yeah, this would be something that would really want to plan out before using it. It's not super convenient to carry around because it is so big, but the included selfie stick, or the basic selfie stick that it came with in the and I'm using that right now to mount my key light here, but that selfie stick is much more reasonable to carry around, and it's a good enough length that you can still get some pretty nice shots with it. Besides that, I also have the helmet mount on it, which gives that normal first-person view that you would normally see with most action cameras, which is pretty cool. And then I've also been able to mount it to my backpack using the Peak Design capture clip, and that's been really cool as well, to get some behind-the-scenes footage of me while I was doing some street photography and things like that. So something to get used to here is just considering at what angle you're capturing, and knowing that wherever you have this in space, you'll be getting a 360-degree view of where the camera is at. So you can really use something like a selfie stick to thread it between close places and get it really up close to different things to give your shot a good sense of perspective. We'll then talk about the different modes. So the modes here can really help you get the type of shot that you want, and choosing the right mode will help you determine what frame rate you can shoot at and at what resolution. So for example, if you're shooting a 360-degree video, you can only shoot in 5.7K resolution, which is kind of hard to understand when you're thinking about 360-degree video. But essentially, when you export it, you're really only going to be getting something like a 1080p resolution out of that, depending on how you are framing the shot in post. And with that, you're also only going to be able to get 30 frames per second, so you won't be able to do any slow motion types of effects if you wanted to. And so with that said, I found the other mode that I was commonly using, especially with action sports like snowboarding, to be the me mode. And that's a single lens mode where it's essentially going to be recording in a 150 degree field of view. But what's nice about it is that you can hold the camera wherever you are and it'll center you within the frame and stitch out any of the selfie stick that you're using. The other modes that are built into this camera, like the bullet time mode and things like that, I really didn't find those to be very useful and more of like a novelty or a gimmick that they built in with this camera. I think it definitely can be fun to play with, but you would want to go out of your way to be able to use those. Especially with like the bullet time mode, you need a special attachment where you're like swinging this camera over your head to be able to get that effect. It's just not something that I really see myself using anytime soon with the type of content that I like to create. For me, I'll typically be sticking to that 360 degree mode or using the single lens me mode. And then if I wanted to get something like a normal B-roll, or I know that like I wasn't moving anything, moving in somewhere like fast, and I just wanted to get something like a locked off shot, I can use just the single lens mode and get a 4K image at something like 60 frames per second and slow it down in post. And that'll give me a very high quality image that I found that the high dynamic range was a little bit better than the other modes. And then finally, the software is another useful tool with this camera. So what you can do with it using the provided Insta360 mobile app or the Studio application on desktop is that you can take your 360 degree video files and add keyframes to them, change the field of view, do things like tiny planet, add speed ramps to your footage, and really play around with your 360 degree video image to get some really cool effects. I think playing around with the field of view and adding those keyframes can really add a lot of cool little motion to your footage and video clip. And yeah, overall, I've just really enjoyed using this camera, and I still find that there's a lot to learn about how to use this camera. Since I lost my GoPro, this has been my replacement action camera. So I'm definitely going to continue carrying this around. It's a nice form factor, so really easy to just throw it in my backpack and carry it with me if I ever need to get some behind the scenes footage or whatever it is quickly in a pinch. So this is definitely something that I'll be having in my everyday kit, and it definitely came in handy when I was on my snowboarding trip to be able to really capture some of the moments while I was snowboarding. So thank you all for watching, and I hope you enjoyed learning about this camera. I will definitely be creating more content with this. I hope you'll stay tuned to see some of the things that I create with this. Once again, if you made it this far, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace out.